call sheets going around. Thomas has it. And at this point, I'll read the Indigenous land statement. So we'd like to acknowledge that Concordia University is on the traditional territory of the Ganyan-Gehaga, a place which has long served as a site of meeting and exchange amongst nations. The Concordia Student Union recognizes and respects the Ganyan-Gehaga as the traditional custodians of the lands and waters on which we meet today. So at this point, I will take any amendments to the agenda, additions, subtractions, modifications. Yes, Marcus.
Under new business substantive, wherever, could we put in Loyola renovations?
Yep. I'll put it after util term sheet.
And one more. Under appointments, Judicial Board.
Okay. Yes, Lucy.
I'd like to move a few things around.
Yep.
So if you could move the Judicial Board point to the top.
The appointments?
Yep. Never mind, that's fine. Okay, but what else we need to move? So the substantive point, the util term sheet, if that could come after Judicial Board.
Yep.
And then if the collective agreement point could go third.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and also I would like to add approval of special council meeting minutes and the annual general meeting minutes.
Perfect. Thank you. Anything else? Thomas.
At the end, could we make sure that the CEO bonus, executive bonus, and chairperson minute keeper bonus are all at the end in that order?
Yep, they are. Yes, Lana?
Can I pull sustainability committee minutes?
Yes, you may. We'll deal with that at the end. Are you okay with it at the end, or?
It would be part of, I'm so sorry, the sustainability policy.
Okay, perfect. So I'll put that right after the sustainability policy. You said sustainability committee minutes. Moving along. Sophia.
Just wondering if the closed session motion is added. I'd like to add the closed session motion.
Okay, so we'll put that right after health and dental pricing. Yes, Julia?
I just want to notify you, I don't know if now's the time, but the second, remaining docs 2 email that you sent, I can't open anything. It told me that the file is corrupted.
I might not have compressed it properly. I will resend it to you. Did anyone else have that problem?
Sorry, which one? Can you?
Can you specify which one?
The
remaining council?
Remaining docs 2, the one with the attachment.
Ooh,
I can't open it.
The very last one? I don't know.
Okay, so I'll resend it to everyone.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, is there anything else for the agenda? Yes, Lana?
I just want to make sure that all bonuses are kept to the very end.
Yep, they're at
Okay.
the end.
Cool.
All right, anything else? Okay, so that we can move to a vote. So all those in favor of approving the agenda and all items under consent, please raise your placards. 7. All those opposed? And any abstentions? Perfect. So the agenda is modified. If you'll give me a couple of seconds to upload this to the Facebook group and put it all in order, because we did just have some changes, and to send you out the documents. If you want a piece of pizza, please go ahead. If not, just give me 3 minutes. Thank you. agenda is in the Facebook group. That's my own personal agenda. That's why it's got everyone's names next to it, so you guys have a viewpoint into my life as chair. I will also send out the documents that didn't work the first time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for bringing it up. And just to clarify, it's the last thing I sent today, right? At like 3.
It was remaining, no, it was on the 5th.
Oh,
It's called remaining documents.
2.
okay.
Thank you.
Oh, I see that. Okay, I'm just going to actually resend all the documents because I never sent anything called remaining documents to, but I will send them all together.
Are you saying all of
Yeah.
that? Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
How many
Yes.
groups of documents did you send out?
4.
Like 6.
She's gonna send all
Four.
of them out.
Yeah, and
So-
I'm just going to compile them all and send them together just so that everybody has everything all in one spot.
Thank you.
For the future executives, it's always nice to have your documents in on time.
But if not, that's okay. We will get it.
I'll note that for next week. Alright, so that is done. And at this point, we can move on to our appointments process, starting with 6A, Judicial Board. And Marcus, the floor is yours. Right, so as per the standing regulations, Judicial Board interviews and appointments are subject to council. This being the case, the appointments committee met, and I hope people had a chance to take a look at the minutes. Made recommendations as to that. We did not meet quorum, but nevertheless I extended the invitation to Dawood here for an interview for the Judicial Board. Right, so I have a list of questions here. I think I'll just upload them in the Facebook group right now so that people can also keep along with that. But after I finish asking my questions, or perhaps do you want me to send them to you, Caitlin, or?
Yeah, sure. I can do the asking.
I guess that makes a little more sense procedurally. So they're in the Facebook group now, and we can, after we exhaust those, as per the normal interview process, people can ask their own questions, and then we can go into closed session for discussion and continue from there.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So at this point, we can move forward with the interview. Would council prefer to do the interview in open or closed session? Okay, as per usual procedure, the interviews are done in closed. Yeah, Julia?
I move to go into closed session for
Thank
the
you.
interview.
Seconded by Aggie. All those in favor of entering closed session, please raise your placards. 7. All those opposed. And any abstentions. All right, thank you very much. So at this point, I'll just ask anyone who's not executive counsel, JB, the chair, me, and the minute keeper to please leave the room, and we'll call you back in a few minutes. Sorry about that. Julia?
I move to enter closed
Okay,
session.
and Aggie, all those in favor of entering closed session, I really apologize for that, I misunderstood. All right, all those opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, so the motion carries. Sorry about that, Louise. All right, everyone, welcome back. So we'll start off with our new business substantive, and point A is FASA office space. And Lana, the floor is yours.
So here is all of the CSU support the Fine Arts Student Alliance in their endeavors towards a new accessible office space.
Do we have a second? Julia? And Lana, the floor is yours.
So the FASA coordinator committee sent me a letter to read, so I'll read that. Sorry, I just ran up the stairs. Okay. The Fine Arts Student Alliance is currently located in the basement of the VA building. This is a location that has virtually no foot traffic, which greatly affects the reach that we have to our membership. We are presently in the process of negotiating for a new space with the Faculty of Fine Arts, and are requesting the CSU Council representatives support us in moving forward in obtaining a new space. At the moment, we are only asking for solidarity. We currently do not need funding or administrative support, but assistance in either of these forms would be welcomed. We believe that by obtaining a more visible location, students will be able to find us and understand what it is that we are able to offer. We have 3 to 4 events per semester that directly affect fine art students through lectures, workshops, craft sales, etc. This past year, we funded 21 clubs and $35,000 worth of special projects. We want a more visible location that will increase participation at these events within the clubs, our board and team. We also believe that a more visible location for our faculty association would also increase the number of people from the Faculty of Fine Arts participating in the CSU. There shouldn't be difficulty on the CSU end to find 3 people to sit on the CSU Council. This past year, only 2 out of 3 seats were filled. That dwindled down to 1. The same thing happened during this past election, as only 2 people ran. By supporting FASA and obtaining a new space, students within the fine arts will directly see how the CSU can support the fine arts population, which at the moment is lacking. The students that do come to the office often hesitate to enter, as the atmosphere and location make it feel like it's a dungeon, despite our modifications to the space to make it more welcoming. The support from the CSU Council representatives would be greatly appreciated. The FASA Coordinator Committee.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions or discussion regarding the FASA office space motion? Okay, so now we can move to a vote. So all those in favor of the FASA, oh, sorry, yes, Lana, sorry.
So I actually want to amend the motion to specify that the CSU draft a letter of support for the Fine Arts Student Alliance in obtaining a new space.
All right. Is there a second? Julia? Can the amendment be considered friendly? Perfect. All right, so at this point, we're back on the main motion. Is there any more discussion to be had on the amended motion? Okay, so with that, we can move to a vote. So all those in favor of the FASA office space motion as amended, please raise your placards. 7. All those opposed? And any abstentions? All right, so the motion carries unanimously. Is there any more discussion on point 8A? Okay, so if not, we can move to point 8B, which is German minor. And Julia, the floor is yours.
Yes. So whereas the German program has been experiencing detrimental structural changes over the past 14 years, whereas the German major was canceled in 2003, and the German minor is now under threat of suspension for fall 2018 despite increasing enrollment and interest, whereas the CSU represents over 30,000 diversified individuals, including those within the Faculty of Arts and Science, be it resolved that the CSU publicly dispute the suspension of the German minor until the Concordia University administration retracts its decision to cancel it. Be it resolved that all current and future sitting members of Senate express the CSU's indignation with the decision to suspend the German program and work toward overturning it.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Aggie and Julia, the floor is yours.
Yes, so as a representative of arts and science, I know this has caused like a lot of ruckus. People are really, really upset that this is happening, and there was a meeting between the CGLSA, which is the Concordia German Language Student Association, and the Faculty of Arts and Science, and nothing is being resolved. As ASFA, we've taken a similar stance, but I think that if the CSU also had a similar stance and continued fighting for this at Senate, and also had a public announcement of some sorts, then we'd actually get further than we are at now, because the CSU has a lot of weight. So I just think this is something that needs to be done, and it's ridiculous that the university is canceling programs because it thinks that it's the right thing to do.
Thank you. Sophia and then Lucy.
We already discussed this at Senate. It was a surprisingly open conversation. But yeah, we addressed the German minor cancellation at Senate, but it nothing was resolved. It's just we asked questions and we did establish a ground for discussion. I don't know what could be done considering the university, the administration's reasoning. But yeah, we already started on that.
Thank you. Lucy?
Yeah, I was going to say that Senate and that kind of caucus has taken this, or the undergraduates on Senate caucus have taken this on as a priority since it's been coming out. And this isn't to negate from the position at all. If anything, it's a compliment to that. But this is something that within these avenues we have been trying to address. But I will say this is part of a macro issue as well about the administration cutting programs where they don't see that they can make the most bang for their buck off of it, and that's not how we approach academics. There's going to be a need for these programs, even if they're not. So it's an ongoing issue, and I think this is something that future years of student representatives need to be aware of. Is where is the university looking at scraping away from things that they don't see as profitable? So that's part of a macro issue as well.
Thank you. So I have Aloise, Julia, and then Thomas. Aloise.
Yeah, well, actually, not one of the things that been already said. So indeed, cutting programs, but also services. So I would encourage, future people who are going to be counselors and executive around this table next year to really take a close look at those kind of moves. And also maybe outreach. I'm not familiar with this dossier, but with faculty members who are affected by this kind of cut-in program, because then they can be, can build alliances, and it's important to, students alone can't stop the corporatization of the university and the privatization of the university, and that takes faculty support.
Thank you. Julia?
So I'm actually going to add something. I'm just going to find it. I wrote the motion for ASPA, and we took a position in terms of all arts and science programs. So I'm just going to get that if you want to give me a 2-second thing. Okay. I would like to add, be it resolved that the CSU take a formal stance to oppose the suspension of any current programs which exist under any of its faculties, and add that to the positions book.
Okay. Could you just either upload it, just copy paste it to the Facebook group or something?
Sure.
Minute taker. Do we have a second? Aggie? Can the amendment be considered friendly? Okay. Yeah, it's your speaker's turn as well.
Yeah, I just think that everything that was said is super relevant, and canceling programs is really ridiculous, especially when the university is saying that they're canceling one program because everyone wants them to implement 2 other programs. So maybe they should look at other ways to get more money that are sustainable and that don't impact current students and make students really angry.
Thank you. Thomas?
Speaking as opposed to a macro approach, to the micro approach of cutting a language minor, is that a lot of students who take language courses do not take a minor or major In that, they're just trying to like move along the track and try to learn. Concordia already has fairly limited language options, despite touting itself as a international university. So it's important to recognize that this is not only a program that's the same as any other program, but also a resource for students to gain very important skills.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion or questions on the motion? Yes, Lana?
To tag on to what Thomas was saying, it's not just a resource for people to gain skills, but it's also become a community for a lot of Germans to come together and still, you know, celebrate their culture. So that's also something to consider.
Thank you. Rowan?
As someone who is doing a minor in a language program that's not German and has had to fight, I know this program has had to fight for pretty much everything it's gotten, and I know without the head of the department that's in there, it would probably have been canceled by now as well, but luckily she's managed to stand up to a lot of the administration. So I think that it's extremely important that we do stand by these different minors and programs.
Thank you very much. All right, is there any more discussion to be had? Okay, so if not, we can move to a vote. So all those in favor of the German minor motion as amended, please raise your placards. 7.
Can I have my name in brackets next to yes, please?
Yep, you can.
Thank you.
All those opposed? And any abstentions? All right, so the motion carries unanimously. Is there any more discussion to be had on the motion? Okay, so if not, we can move on to 8C, which is right to die. Sorry, everyone who sent me motions ended up getting their name one after another, so we'll just hear from one person for a long time and then another person for a long time. Julia, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I would like to table this to the June council meeting.
Okay, do we have a second? Aggie? All those in favor of table, or would you want to motivate first? Sorry.
I'm gonna be there, so I can talk about it then.
Okay, not a problem. Did you have a question, Marcus?
Yeah, because that's with it. Okay. Bye.
So all those in favor of tabling this to the June council meeting, please raise your placards.
Information.
Yep.
Since we're creating a new council, can this council table to another council?
Yes, because the Quebec Companies Act doesn't recognize discontinuity of the board. Is there any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor of tabling? 6. All those opposed? And any abstentions? Alex, thank you very much. So this will be tabled to the June council meeting. Sophia?
I just checked the agenda and the board, the daycare board point is not there.
We got the lead when it was reading.
Did anyone motion to add?
At the beginning.
I just sent you the document, or did I? Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, okay, sorry. That might have been my...
It's okay. It can go anywhere. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Once again, we're not amending the agenda. You guys already approved it. It was just me who forgot to write it down. Sorry about that. Daycare demolition, I believe is what it was.
Daycare board structure.
Daycare board, sorry, okay, yeah. My apologies, I think I actually deleted that from one agenda to another. Sorry about that. So that will go after Loyola renovations. Okay, is there anything else on tabling the motion? Nope, okay, so we'll move on to 8D, which is menstrual hygiene products. And Julia, the floor is yours.
So whereas the CSU represents over 30,000 individuals, whereas feminine hygiene products are necessary for individuals that menstruate but costly to acquire, rendering them very inaccessible, whereas feminine hygiene products, or menstrual hygiene products, are unavailable on both campuses and especially difficult to procure on short notice around the Loyola campus, be a result that the CSU recognize the experiences of individuals that menstruate and actively take action to alleviate the barriers that they face on a monthly basis for most of their lives, and for this to be added to their positions book.
Okay, do we have a second? Aggie and Julia?
Yeah, so pardon the use of feminine instead of menstrual. That was a an old document that I just reused. Too many people don't have access to menstrual hygiene products. We have a lot of people that menstruate at Concordia. I think it'd be really great for the CSU to have a position on this, since the external committee already helped out with a project that had to do with that. And so if we had a position about this, and we had people who submitted project ideas, for example, to try to alleviate these barriers, then we'd be able to offer free menstrual hygiene products to people, for example, or help them out in other ways. And I think that's something that the CSU should be doing to make sure that everyone has access to something that they need.
Okay. Is there any discussion to be had on the motion? Yes, Lana?
Could I amend the motion to broadly address, for the CSU to address the broad issue of the lack of accessible menstrual products for all? This would include the pig tax and other aspects of reproductive health that are not adequately. I'm trying to come up with it on the fly, and I'm sorry.
Are you speaking about things like the overs?
Pardon?
I'm just helping, sorry. Are you speaking about like toiletries?
No.
Razors, deodorants.
Well, the pig, yeah. So, anyways, no, actually, never mind. I'll send it to the next council, or recommend the next executive to present it.
Okay. Not a problem, so that is rescinded.
Do you want me to post it because I slightly changed something?
Yeah, if there's something amended, just make sure it
Okay.
ends up in the minute keeper's hands. All right, is there any more discussion to be had on the menstrual hygiene product motion? Okay, so if not, we can move to a vote. So all those in favor, please raise your placards. 7, all those opposed, and any abstentions. All right. So that carries unanimously. And since it's a position, it will head to the positions book. All right, is there any more discussion to be had on the menstrual hygiene product motion? Okay, so if not, we will hear from Alois for a while with 8E, living wage.
Whereas the CSU adopted the following position on June 8, 2016, that the CSU supports the adoption by the Quebec National Assembly of at least a $15 hourly minimum wage across all provincial sectors of labor, whereas several factors have an influence of a living wage, such as the location, the familial situation, and the date. Whereas the Institut de Recherche et d'Information Socio-Économique, IRIS, publishes every year a revised calculation for living wage in several locations of the province of Quebec. Whereas for the year 2017, for a single person, IRIS has defined a living wage at $15.44 in Montreal. Anyway, there's a bunch of examples. Be it resolved that the CSU amends its position for $15 minimum wage taken on June 8, 2016. Be it further resolved that the new CSU position reads as follows: that the CSU supports the adoption of a living wage as defined by the Institut de Recherche et d'Information Socio-Économique as a minimum in the province of Quebec. Be it further resolved that the CSU implements its position for living wage for all its employees, excluding CSU executives, as well as for all compensations of labor.
Right, thank you. Do we have a second? Julia and Eloise, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so the substance of the change of the position is just to make it more accurate, because with like all the factors, $15 is like kind of the formula that because it's catchy, but it actually doesn't quite reflect the reality. So this position won't have to be revised; it'll just adjust itself. The other be it resolved. So it's the CSU actually implementing the practices its position. Currently, all unionized employees are already paid over $15 an hour. However, we passed this position last year, in 2016, after having adopted the budget. So there was a few cases of employment, such as polling clerks and maybe some orientation staff, I don't remember, who were paid below 15. So yeah, now with the new budget, CSU will be able to make sure that every person employed, but also if you have an honorarium for that kind of labor or another, paid a living wage, and that excludes executive. If a change in the remuneration of executive was to be proposed, it should be its own discussion and also has a budgetary implication.
Thank you. So Julia and then Thomas.
Can I go after the vote?
Yep.
Thanks.
Thomas?
I also want to point out that the $15 minimum wage not only changes year to year, but the number changes based on a person's living situation. The most common example would be that somebody with dependents has a much higher necessary wage than somebody without, according to the IAS report.
It's the opposite, actually.
Would you like to clarify?
I mean, yes, it's true, but with all the governmental aid, actually, a person living alone is a person who ends up having the highest need in terms of living wage.
Thank you.
30-page document.
Okay, is there any more discussion or questions on the living wage motion? Yes, Omar?
Question, I think maybe with the exception of the polling clerks, is there anyone that's even getting less than that for now? Like, I understand that this is to clarify the positions book and so on, but just in practice.
Orientation staff.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Was it for responses? Okay. Aggie?
I know this is in place though, so I'll resend. That's
Okay.
good, yeah.
Sophia?
It's also the fact that that number changes year per year. So like putting it at 15 2 years from now, it's gonna be different. And instead of like changing it every time it produces a new number, a living wage is what the number is. Just yeah.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion or questions on the living wage motion? Okay, so if not, we can move to a vote. So all those in favor, please raise your placards. 7, all those opposed, and any abstentions. All right, so the motion carries unanimously. Is there any more discussion? Yes, Julia?
I would like to move to break Robert's rules.
Okay, do we have a second? Aggie?
Oh, yeah.
There's a second? Okay, so we don't discussion on this one. All those in favor of suspending Robert's rules, please raise your placards.
Maybe I can
For
motivate.
information, yeah,
Yeah,
I was
okay,
gonna say,
I'll-
can she
yeah,
motivate for it?
yeah.
Yeah, I would just like to add a point to the agenda.
Okay, yeah, that's usually why we both do it. Okay, all those in favor of suspending Robert's rules, please raise your placards. 6, all those opposed, and any abstentions. 1, thank you. Julia?
Student parents, and if it can be, after internships.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay. All right. So all those in favor of, sorry, first of all, was there any question or discussion on the addition of the point? Okay. All those in favor of adding student parents to the agenda, please raise your placards. 6. All those opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, so the motion carries. At this point, for procedure, we'll need a point to go back into to reinstate Robert's rules. Rowan?
I have a motion to reinstate Robert's rules.
Okay, seconded by Omar. All those in favor of reinstating Robert's rules, please raise your placards.
Thanks.
7. All those opposed? And any abstentions? Perfect. All right. So is there any more discussion we had on living wage? Okay, so if not, we'll move on to AG 1055, and Alois, the floor is yours.
Well, the CSU still holds 21,181.98 cents in its AG 1055 account as of April 27, 2017, where the use of this collected feed is mandated by the CSU's members for the purpose of national representation, whereas the following motion was adopted at the CSU Council in September 2016. I'm not going to read it. You have seen the docs. Whereas Majucac has affiliated to AVEC in April 2017, whereas costs associated with research, mobilization, and representation come from AVEC's commission's budget, be it resolved that the remaining funds held in the AG 1055 account be transferred to the Association for Voice of Education in Quebec, AVEC. Be it further resolved that the transfer of these funds is conditional on AVEC allocating them to AVEC's commissions.
Right, do we have a second? Comment? Thank you. And Alois, the floor is yours.
Right, so for those of you who were here in September, we had already transferred half of the then about $42,000 leftover from the fees collected for the purpose of the FERC. We had transferred that to the AVEC, to the Community Action Fund. And the discussion we had at the time was that we would reconsider transferring the other half at the end of the year if AVEC's position was secure, because at the time there was only 2 associations. Now with the affiliation of a third association, we feel confident that AVEC as an organization is sustainable, and so we feel confident also in like granting them this money that is that was collected from students for the purpose of national representation. That's why also it's proposed to like be transferred to AVEC, because we cannot use it for anything else. Otherwise, if we wanted to, we'd have to like run a referendum question. So yeah, that's about it. It's just clearing that account.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or questions on the AG 1055 motion? Okay, so do you have a?
Well, also just clarification, like it's transferred to commission because like kind of in the spirit, it's not to like finance AVEC operation of like salaries and all of that, but really like it's student like engagement and representation, and that's what it does for students.
Thank you. Okay, so if there's nothing else, we can move to a vote. So all those in favor of the motion as read by Eloise, please raise your placards. 6. All those opposed? And any abstentions? Thank you very much. So the motion carries. Is there any more discussion? Yes, Eloise?
So it's another motion.
On the same point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whereas the AG 1055 account purpose was to hold the fees collected for the FERC, whereas the FERC is not collecting fees anymore, whereas the remaining fund held in AG 1055 account has been transferred to AVEC, whereas standing regulation 202 states that an account, be it internal account or bank account, shall only be closed or opened by resolution of the council and shall be removed from or added to the roster of accounts in this section as the case may be. Be it resolved that the CSU closes the AG 1055 account once the remaining monies it holds have been transferred to AVEC.
Okay. Seconded by Julia and Eloise. The floor is yours.
Yeah, just housekeeping.
Okay. Is there any questions or discussion on the second motion? Okay, so if not, we can move to a vote. So all those in favor of the motion as read by Eloise, please raise your placards. 7. All those opposed? And any abstentions? All right, so the motion carries unanimously. Is there any more discussion to be had on the AG 1055 point? Okay, so if not, we can move on to internships. And Eloise, yours again.
Whereas the CSU holds a position for living wage, whereas many internships mandatory for the completion of a degree are not remunerated or compensated, whereas beyond other than the financial aspect, other problematic exists surrounding student internships, such as their quality and their educational relevance, whereas the CSU lacks information on the state of internships that Concordia students have to undergo as part of their programs of study. Be it resolved that the CSU conduct research on the state of internships that Concordia students have to undergo as part of their program of studies. Be it resolved that the CSU supports grassroots and departmental student association-led efforts to improve the quality and the remuneration or compensation of internships.
Okay, do we have a second? Aggie and Eloise?
Right. So this is like inscribing a larger effort that we've started working on. So there's a big push provincially for remuneration or compensation, depending on who's talking, of internships. And the CSU has been attended several of these meetings, but our biggest issue right now is that we don't really know what's the situation at Concordia, because it varies significantly from university to university, from program to program. The problematics are very different. Sometimes it's because it's not paid, sometimes it's because it's like an internship that is actually just you paid, but you do data entry or things like that, not relevant to your program. And this is also something that has more vocation for like departmental and faculty association to take on if they want to. But right now, like there's no research, so yeah, the CSU kind of needs to step up its game. So the purpose of this motion is both to like mandate the CSU conduct research, which we already started, but also kind of to signal to student association across the university that there's a willingness from the CSU to work on that issue, and that it can offer support to people who are organizing in their own departments and faculties to get better quality of internships for their program.
Thank you very Yes, Aggie and then Julia.
I was curious if we could include possibly research into this as a separate point, because I get a lot of questions from students about research opportunities, especially from science, and I feel like that goes hand in hand, internship and research.
Direct response. It was kind of.
Yeah, could you clarify what you mean by research? Like, you mean like research assistant or like?
Yeah, so researching opportunities within university, like where they can find the researching opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that could be brought as something like different because although it's totally pertinent, like what's internship, it's not so much like having the occasion of doing internships, it's more like at least like the primary thrust of the motion and of the movement right now. It's like there's a number of programs they are mandatory internships. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to do this internship to have a better CV. It's not like I have to do it as part of my program. And for like several months I have to work and I actually paying tuition but not being paid, right? But yeah, like I think like it needs just like
Separate.
a little bit separate and like a bit of not research, but like just to like separate and yeah.
Thank you. Julia?
I was just wondering if it would be possible to maybe list the programs maybe underneath so that people next year know. I know SCPA has and Loyola College. So maybe it would be a good idea. That way everyone's aware and we don't have to do research and we can get right into it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it wasn't really a question.
It was
Sophia?
kind of a question.
I'll put you at the end.
Rescind.
Alice?
Yeah, right. So yeah, that'll be part of like kind of like whatever the strategy of then people who've been working on it next year. But like currently we already started outreaching to departments to kind of like make the first draft of a list of what's going on. But yeah, I imagine there'll be like a communication efforts towards association and student at large.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion or questions on the internship motion? Yes, Aggie?
I'm sorry if this is mentioned here in advance, but who's the working group who's going to be taking lead of this specifically?
Direct response?
I mean, I'm out in 3 weeks, like. No, but seriously, it'll be like in terms of like division of tasks and all that. That's gonna be up to the next exec to decide how much resources they want to allocate to that project and how, or like I don't know, like there's like a researcher who's already working on it currently, but there's like a lot of factors and I can't tell for like the next team.
Thank you. Sophia?
We have a researcher right at the CSU. We have an academic researcher, academic and campaigns soon, probably, anyway. So someone who's like dedicated to like academic research in this context exactly. So I figure they're probably going to be involved in that.
Thank you for the clarification. All right, is there any more discussion to be had on the internship motion? Okay, so if not, we can move to a vote. So all those in favor of the internship motion, please raise your placards. 7. All those opposed? And any abstentions? All right, so the motion carries unanimously. Is there any more discussion to be had on internships? Okay, so we can move on to 8H, which is student parents, and Julia, the floor is yours.
Yes, so I've been like working on this a ton lately, and I've come to realize that there are a lot more student parents at Concordia than people would think, and so I would like to bring forward the following motions. Sorry, I kind of motivated first.
Yeah.
Forgive me. Be it resolved that the CSU recognize the experiences of student parents and take concrete actions to alleviate the barriers that they face. Be it further resolved that the CSU pressure the Concordia University administration to create a family policy by means of Senate and Board of Governors.
Okay, do we have a second? Aggie? I'll call the first bit your motivation because I really should be more stringent on that. We have one person on the speakers list though. Sophia?
There's like something in the works already. We do have like solidarity with student parents like at the CSU, and like the daycare was one aspect of that, but we also have like the campaigns department has been working on it like non-stop, and we've just debriefed like one of the like new executive member, like the incoming exec, the academic affairs and advocacy coordinator because it falls under their portfolio. So, like, if having it in writing is like something that people want to do, but I've been working on this with the Dean of Students since like very early on in the year, and the campaigns department has been working for a couple of months or a couple of weeks on it too, and we're like now like putting things in motion. Yeah, so like if it reassures people that we have it in writing, that's fine, but it's not very different from what we're doing and what we already have.
Okay, so I have Eloise, Julia, and then Lucy.
Yeah.
Where's yours?
Just for small amendments. Replace pressure by work with.
Pardon?
Yeah.
Work with
Okay.
instead of pressure.
Do we have a second? Can the amendment be considered friendly?
Can I write collaborate?
Yeah, like anything like that. I'm the first one to use pressure, but I think
Yeah.
in this case it's better to.
So collaborate. Okay, friendly. All good. Perfect. Did you have a follow-up, Fran? Okay. So Julia, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so the reason why I want to add the first part is because I can't find anything about it in the positions book, and like I've been working on it personally for a long time too. So I think it would just be a good idea for it to be there for the future so that people know what we're up to, and also so that student parents are aware too, because a lot of them had no idea that Concordia didn't even have a family policy, and if they do adopt it, they'd be the first Anglophone university to have such a policy, and be a lot more inclusive of the students at Concordia, and so they'd be more representative of Concordia's current landscape, and it'd help out a lot of people.
Thank you. Lucy?
Yeah, I don't want to reiterate what Sophia has said about the priority that like we've given to student parents and their needs. Like if that's in writing, that's fine, that's great. But we have been collaborating a lot with CUSP, so the Concordia University Student Parents Association. We've helped them do some demographic and like survey stuff. And one of the other things that Sophia especially has been kind of trying to work forward on has been in terms of having so in terms of academics, because you can have like different listings if you can't complete classwork, if you can't meet your academic rotation. So having it recognized within the bureaucracy of academics and university that being a student parent is legitimate, reason for maybe why you can't complete your work to this extent within that time. So this is something that we've recognized for like several years that we have an untraditional student population. This is why students have given us the mandate to build a daycare and nursery. This is why we keep getting motions to add more things onto it so we can have that ready. So yeah.
Thank you. Sophia?
Yeah, it's just I guess Elise put it well, but I want to reiterate it so that it's like clear to everyone. We're not on this issue. It's not a type of issue where pressuring would do anything. Like and because we're like, it's a service we're trying to give, or like it's a. Anyway, we're in no way trying to pressure the university or like.
It's a
bully them, or yeah, it's exactly something that we're like we like have no choice but to work with them. So like make it happen. So friendly and all.
Thank you. All right. Is there any more discussion to be had on the motion? Okay, so if not, we can move to a vote. So all those in favor of the student parent motion as amended, please raise your placards. 7. All those opposed? And any abstentions? All right, so the motion carries unanimously. Is there any more discussion to be had on student parent motion? Okay, so if not, we can move on to hearing from Lana for a little bit. 8I, standing regulation amendments. Oh, Eloise. Oh, my apologies. Okay, sorry.
Not done yet. Oh, actually, the motion is not there. Well, be it resolved that the new document doesn't have the text of the motion. Be it resolved that the standing regulation amendments to the standing regulation as outlined in the amendment to standing regulation document be adopted.
Okay, we have a second. Aggie and Eloise.
Right. So there's like this on this document. I hope you had the chance to read. There's just a few amendments. We were not able to make it go through policy because policy couldn't meet, but it's fairly minor. There's just the addition of the CSU Community Action Fund as a point on the agenda of council-elect for appointments. There's the addition of the campaigns coordinator, so the staff person, as a member, an ex-official, non-voting member of the External Campaigns Committee, which reflects current practices and their contract. And the addition of a few paragraphs regulating the use of the endowment fund for student initiative. That we ran across it a few times this year. So this famous fund at the Union of Students office forgot for several years, and that we had no records of, at least not readily available. So yeah, it's very basic. On this part, by the way, if you haven't checked the Facebook group, we added one point, so regulation 210, that just says proposed use of funds must be detailed to council prior to their approval.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions or any discussion? Yes?
Is there a document with the motion that you just said?
Yes, the motion I just said was at the top of the document that was sent. So yeah, it was in the same doc. It's
All right, thank you. Yes, Marcus?
While we were discussing changes to the standing regulations, I'm going to propose a friendly amendment that has nothing to do with this, which is just that 237 standing regulation it's not on the document. Standing regulation 237B be changed to reported to the chair of Senate. It's just something I noticed and I didn't bother bringing up before, but it has nothing to do with the amendments you're proposing.
Okay, do we have a second?
I think that's out of
He's
order.
going to motivate.
I think that's out of order. Like we have to do another motion. But it's not in the document. The motion refers to the document, so it's not.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, sorry. The motion was to accept the standing. You should have say and the other. And like
You know what?
changes in the
It can be the Senate
document
of Senate
and
for
this
another
change
year.
as well.
That's fine.
Just send it to policy.
Yeah.
Okay, are you rescinding?
I'll rescind.
Okay. Sophia?
Also, man, I'm gonna be out of order, but this has been done. It's just website is not cool and not accepting new documents right now. But this has already been changed like a while back.
Thank you. Right. Is there any more discussion to be had on the standing regulation amendments, which need a 2/3 majority to pass? All right. So we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving the amendments as in the document, please raise your placards. 5. All those opposed? And any abstentions? 1.
Oh, my note, please?
Yep.
Thank you.
Noted. Thank you. All right, so the motion carries. Is there any more discussion to be had on the standing regulation amendments? Okay, so if not, we can move on now to hear from Lana with the sustainability policy change.
So, be it resolved that the following changes in the Sustainability Ethics Annex be ratified and incorporated in the CSU standing regulations as recommended by the Sustainability Committee.
Oh, sorry. Yes, second. Lana?
Yep, so I just passed everything along. I'm sorry that I passed the first draft before they were able to be looked at in depth by the Sustainability Committee. And you weren't able to meet before Friday, so the final version was sent a little bit late, so I have a printed version out for all of you. That said, if you don't want to keep it, give it back to me, because I'll give it to the new execs. So it goes through a couple different things. It changes the preamble, so it kind of gives a better, a better raison d'être for why it exists. Everything is changed except for the 2 annexes, which are staying the same, or the 2 appendixes rather. The reason for this is that they're pretty good already, and that any further changing would need extensive research into looking into different labor laws and different ways in which organizations or companies can be unethical other than these things. But this is more about the day-to-day and the ways in which the CSU promotes sustainability on campus. There's also a completely new what's it called? Article, which is on accessibility. But if anyone has any questions about anything directly to that, I can answer it, and I'm sure Julia, who is also on the sustainability committee, who is the only one who is on the sustainability committee who is here, can also answer questions.
Thank you. All right, is there any discussion or questions? Yes, Julia?
Yeah, I just want to say that we worked really hard on this as a committee, and we tried to update it as much as we can and ensure that it really follows suit with the CSU positions book and everything. And that if you have any questions, of course, like, we're here to talk about it.
All right. Is there any discussion to be had on the sustainability policy changes? Okay, so if not, we can move to a vote. So all those in favor of the motion as read by Lana, please raise your placards. 6. All those opposed? And any abstentions?
Can I have my yes noted, please?
Yep. Okay, so the motion carries unanimously. And next we have Sustainability Committee minutes, and Lana, this one's yours as well.
Be resolved that the minutes
From the Sustainability Committee be approved. Thank you. Your second, Omar, and Lana, the floor is yours.
wanted to make sure that they were, out in case anybody had any problems with anything.
Okay. Is there any discussion to be had on the Sustainability Committee minutes? Okay, so if not, we can move to a vote. So all those in favor of ratifying the Sustainability Committee minutes, please raise your placards. 2, 3, 4. Thank you. All those opposed? And any abstentions? 1. Thank you. So the motion carries. Is there any more discussion to be had on 8K? Yes, Lana?
Like I said, if you're not keeping it, pass your papers along to me because I will reuse them.
Oh, yeah, so just send the papers back. Thank you very much, everyone. Sorry, now it says 8L, which is collective agreement, but we already talked about that. My apologies, clearly my agenda game is a little bit off today. But we are on Loyola renovations, and Marcus, the floor is yours.
Okay, so, just give me one moment here. Whereas renovations of the SC 200 space have been pursued for the past year by the CSU in collaboration with the Hive Cafe, Free Lunch Coordinators, and Sustainable Concordia's Dish Project. Whereas on December 14th, 2016, CSU Council approved a contract work plan for assessing and producing a quote on the renovations of the space. Whereas the product of this assessment has been submitted to CSU Council and includes the following renovations, covering the countertops with stainless steel, including triple sinks on 2 counters, removing one of the existing broken beer refrigerators, replacing a section of the counter with a new counter, installing a pot sink in the free lunch kitchen, and customizing the serving area to accommodate the kitchen staff. Whereas the expenses associated with this amount total $38,550 but exclude taxes, contingency, contractor fees, additional plumbing and electrical work, or other aspects of the renovations, example, paint. Be it resolved that CSU Council approve a maximum allocable budget of $70,000 towards the renovations to be expensed from the Silk Fund. Be it further resolved that this funding be subjected to the approval of the Fund Committee as per Special Bylaw J.
Okay, we have a second. Maggie and Marcus, the floor is yours.
First, I'm just going to post that in the group. And yeah. Right, so I don't think this is anything too new, because this has been discussed for a while. The council docs were sent out fairly late. I apologize for that. But so the motion includes the summary that's also in the documents. It has the blueprints of it as well. So I was hoping that I could actually have a more solid number, because obviously that's a fairly inflated figure for this, but the soonest that I'll have like a solid number would be Monday, when I'm meeting with facilities as well as with the architectural representative, Mary Claude. Because I felt that it would be easier to work with percentages of the budget that was presented instead of waiting for the final amount and then having a special council meeting, I decided to perform it in this way. So yeah, the total is 38 grand and is for quoted, but as said, it excludes quite a lot of additional costs, and as we know from the past, these things tend to balloon. So I put a maximum allocable of 70,000 at the discretion of the Silk Fund Committee. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you. So are there any questions or discussions surrounding the Loyola renovations? Okay, so if not, we can move to a vote. So all those in favor of approving the Loyola renovations motion, please raise your placards. 6. All those opposed? And any abstentions? All right, so the motion carries unanimously. Is there any more discussion to be had regarding the Loyola renovations? Okay, so if not, we can move on to daycare board structure, and Sophia, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, take a minute.
Whoa. Okay. Whereas the daycare board is now comprised of Sophia Sahan, Lucinda Marshall-Kiparisis, and Robert Henry, respectively the Academic Affairs and Advocacy Coordinator, the General Coordinator, and the General Manager of the CSU, whereas board members are to serve 2-year terms, whereas the CSU recognizes the need and importance to include the input of student parents and people with relevant experience on the board of the daycare, whereas the CSU will provide accounting and administrative services to the daycare, be it resolved that the board be comprised of the current board members serving 2-year terms, as well as the CSU daycare coordinator, a CSU daycare staff member, a community member, a student parent member, and 1 CSU executive representative.
All right, do we have a second for the motion? Julia and Sophia, floor is yours.
Right, so the reason why myself, Lucinda, and Robert Henry, our general manager, are on the board already, and that wasn't like voted or decided, is because we are, like, the permits, all the financials, all the accounts for the daycare are under our names. We also, like, the daycare is, like, everything is in motion already, so we have, like, construction plan, demolition is almost done. We have, like, our quotes already, so we're kind of like the last executives that will have put in work into, like, establishing, like, the foundation for the daycare before it exists, basically. So yeah, so our names are on every single permit and everything. Also, we're not student parents. Robert Henry is a parent but not a student anymore. Like, we need the input of student parents because we want to make sure that the daycare is completely catered to them. The CSU daycare coordinator is because we're gonna hire soon once we finish with the draft of the job posting. Yeah, CSU daycare staff member, again, we need their input on the board. Community member, student parent member. We're gonna slowly, like, phase out, Lucinda and I, to leave space for, like, the new board members, but just so that we have, like, institutional memory at least for, like, the first 2 years of the daycare being, like, fully functional. Also, the reason why we need so much CSU representation on the, or not need, but, like, have so much CSU representation on the board is because, unlike Reggie's, which, like, is its own entity now, although it did receive a lot of funding from the CSU, the daycare is, like, the permits were issued to the CSU, like, everything was issued to us and under our names too. So, and we're gonna do the accounting, like, Reggie's have their own accountant. We're still gonna do, like, all the administrative services, like processes. So that's why there's so much, like, CSU involvement. Also, like, all the money that was put into it, obviously. But yeah.
Thank you. All right. So is there any discussion or questions regarding the daycare board structure motion? Okay, so if not, we can move to a vote. So all those in favor of the motion as read by Sophia, please raise your placards. 6. All those opposed? And any abstentions? All right, so the motion carries unanimously. Is there any more discussion on the daycare board structure? Okay, so if not, we can hear from Thomas for a little bit with the insurance expense approval. Floor is yours.
We say a little bit, we really mean a little bit. Sorry, let me pull up the doc. Be it resolved that council approve the expense of $22,193.98 to renew the CSU's commercial insurance.
Okay, we have a second. Julia and Thomas?
Yep, normally this would have gone through finance committee, because it's an expense above $10,000. And I've chosen to try to take a stricter, interpretation of the standing regs, which require that any expense, without qualification, be further approved, by finance committee regardless of, whether or not it's been budgeted before. This is a regular insurance, cost, it comes every year. Again, usually we go into finance committee, but council has the ability to supersede that.
Alright, thank you. Is there any discussion or questions for Thomas regarding the insurance expense approval? Okay, so if not, we can move to a vote. So all those in favor of the expense, please raise your placards. 6. All those opposed? And any abstentions? Perfect. So the motion carries unanimously. Is there any more discussion to be had on the insurance expense approval? Okay, so if not, we'll move on to 8.0, which is health and dental pricing. And Thomas, the floor is yours.
Yep, so at the last council meeting, the council mandated the Health and Dental Plan Committee to continue for just one more meeting, to set a final price for the health and dental plan for the 2017-18 academic year.
Okay.
I forgot to read the motion again, so I'm going to do that now. I'm sorry. Whereas the CSU Health and Dental Plan Committee has had its mandate extended in order to submit a final pricing recommendation to council, whereas the new health and dental plan contract reduces the cost to the CSU, whereas in order to ensure consistent delivery of health and dental plan services to students, to reduce future costs, and to maintain the option of bringing services in-house, it is prudent to keep a reserve at approximately 20% of plan cost. Be it further resolved that the cost of the health plan to a student enrolled be at maximum $72 for a full year of coverage starting on September 1st, 2017. Be it further resolved that the cost of the dental plan to a student enrolled be at maximum $103 for a full year of coverage starting on September 1st, 2017. And be it further resolved that the target health and dental plan reserve be between $630,000 and $770,000 by the end of the fiscal year ending in May 2019.
Alright, thank you. Do we have a second? Julia? And I'll count that first part as your motivation. Is there any discussion or there's no speakers list?
Sorry. I apologize for doing the motivation before the motion again. It's a bit later than council has been going this year, and I apologize if I'm a bit tired. So originally we had set a maximum cost of $180 total for the health and dental plan for the upcoming year. That was a maximum set because we knew we wouldn't need to go higher than that. However, we required further investigation to make sure what exactly the price should be set at. We were able to lower it a little bit more to $175, which is a 10.26% savings compared to the current year. And at this rate, it should be possible, and assuming plan enrollment stays consistent with previous years, to further reduce the price the next year and still reach the target health and dental plan reserve by the end of the two fixed cost years of this contract. It should also be noted, I wanted to put this on the projector, but unfortunately our friend Epson seems to not be having a good evening. But I did a quick comparison with other student organizations that have student care as their insurer. That being SMU at McGill, the GSA at Concordia, HSC and SRC, which is the Bishop's student organization, and they respectively have a price of $245, $292.02, $392.90, and $264.48 per year for a somewhat comparable plan, while the CSU this past year had a cost of $195. So we'd be further lowering it to $175.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or questions for Thomas? So with that, we can move to a vote. So all those in favor of the health and dental plan pricing motion, please raise your placards. 5. All those opposed? And any abstentions? 1. Thank you. So the motion carries. Is there any more discussion on the health and dental plan pricing? Yes, Julia?
I move to go into closed session.
Okay, just one more, make sure there's no more health and dental plan. Okay, I'll entertain it. Do we have a second? Veronica? All those in favor of entering closed session, please raise your placards. 6, all those opposed, and any abstentions? Thank you. So at this point, I'll ask anyone who's not executive, council, minute keeper, myself, and JB to please leave the room, and we will call you back when we go back into open. Thank you very much for your patience. Quick second, Julia. All those in favor of ratifying the motions made and closed, please raise your placards.
Or hand.
Hands. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All those opposed, and any abstention? Thank you. All right. So at this point, we're in question period. Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, sorry, yeah, on my computer. Yeah, so we're in question period and business arising. For question period or announcements? Yes, Marcus.
Is it an announcement?
No. No, we're in question period and business arising, and then announcements.
Yeah, sorry. I just heard the last one.
Okay, now we're in announcements. I'm just gonna go around the room, because it's easier at first. Marcus.
This is, hopefully, my last council meeting. I am Loyola coordinator. We're at Loyola. I'm adjourning this meeting. That's all I'm saying. No competition. Nobody else raised their placard. I want to adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Second.
It's not a motion.
Announcements first. Elise?
Yeah. So if you wanted to go to see Robert King, and you couldn't make it, well, you could see his Angola Free colleague on May 19th, H110. Albert Wood Fox is coming to talk about his experience as a political prisoner and Black Panther in the U.S.
Going Aggies.
The ASFO General Assembly is happening tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. In room, what room do you remember?
NB 3.445.
Yes, so please invite anyone who you know is in the arts and science. That's amazing. Also on June 2nd, Forest Girls, which is a non-for-profit organization that empowers women from diverse backgrounds, is hosting a fundraiser. So please come, invite your moms, invite any strong females that you have in your life, and it's only $15. It's going to help fund schools in Jamaica. So yeah, if you want to know more about it, or if you want a personal invitation, just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Julia, did you have your placard up before?
Aggie said it for me.
Oh, Sophia?
Yeah, also thank you everyone for being counselors and for like doing all of this.
NP.
Sorry, obviously I'm not at my best right now, but yeah, thank you so much. Hopefully it's the last council of the year, but you're still gonna see me around. I'm like a ghost, I will never leave. No, I'm just kidding. I will leave. Getting the
No.
hell out of here? Hell is fine. Yeah.
Rachel?
So for those of you who are on campus on Friday, Reggie's is closing, and in order not to throw away food, we're gonna have a pay what you can buffet. We're also inviting and reaching out to people at the Greenlands who moved there because of the flood. So if you know other people around campus that are affected by the floods, tell them it's as of noon until supplies last. So come enjoy some food.
Thank you. Me? First of all, thank you everyone for the great year. Also, I am driving west, like I always say, and I'm stopping by the metro. I already have 3 people in the car. There's room for 1 more in the trunk. Okay. You and if anyone wants the trunk.
Feels very passionate and willing to give up my space. So it's okay.
Okay. All good. Cool. Lucy.
Yeah, I'm gonna add on to like the friendly motions. I think they're motion soleil in French, something like that. yeah, I mean, first it's a serious thing, in terms of like, we're not quite done our work yet, so, especially with the Bizania campaign, like, as we have updates, we'll be putting them out, please disseminate them, this is not an issue that's gone away. But Arts Motion Soleil, this has been a wild year, but I at least have felt very privileged to be able to work with all of you. I mean, especially the folks who come out like in the beginning of summer semester out to Loyola and make some really important decisions. I like this. I spent 2 years on council and like this is like my third year in exec in count. Anyway, so this is it's weird that this is my last meeting. But I really want to genuinely thank all of you who are present and those who are not present for making some really important decisions and for being really good representatives and, you know, filling in your roles for the 35,000 students that you represent. So I'd like to give you all a like chapeau for just really well work done.
Thank you very much. Thomas, Rami, I thought I saw your hand up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So this Saturday, there's a march at Metro Montreal to commemorate the 69 years of the Nakba, where 750,000 Palestinians were kicked out of their lands to make space for a colonial state, a legal apartheid state. So we will be marching around and just commemorating the 750,000 Palestinians that became 6 million living in refugee camps all over the Middle East and abroad. So I encourage you all to come to Metro Montreal around 6 p.m. Also, the Monday right after, Palestinians in Montreal will be going on, well, certain Palestinians in Montreal will be going on a hunger strike in front of Complexe Guy Favreau in solidarity with the 1,600 Palestinians in hunger strike in the occupiers' prisons for just protesting the right to equality. So I encourage you all to learn more about the situation of the Palestinian prisoners and to, depending on how, yeah, that's about it.
Thank you. Sorry, Thomas, I missed you.
Oh no, I was just going like this.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Rowan.
Yeah, I would just like to extend my congratulations to the outgoing exec. It's been a year that's seen a lot of things go through, a lot of great work done, some good fights, some good emotions. I've run into a lot of you at very strange hours around the CSU office. I know you've all extended yourselves extremely, and I would just like to thank all of you for that.
Thank you very much. Is there any more announcements? Yes, Ivy? No. Marcus?
Yeah, Marcus.
Move to adjourn.
Second. Okay, yeah, I put your hundred up. Thank you, everyone. Oh yeah, see everyone at council elect for those of you who are going.